Hey there, everybody. Happy Tuesday and welcome to Fight Club. Good morning.
Good
Welcome to
morning.
Fight Club.
Welcome to Fight Club for Business, the show for home service business owners looking to improve their marketing, finances, systems, and culture. We're a team of self-employed industry experts, and we get to be joined this week by our guest, Ryan Fenn. Thank you so much for joining us, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on the show. So can you just give our listeners a brief rundown of yourself and your business?
Sure. Thank you again for having me here, Michelle. You guys, appreciate it. Like you said, my name is Ryan Fenn. I'm the CEO here at CHIIRPy. I'm also the founder. I started about 4 years ago. It's a software company that helps home service businesses automate a lot of their communication with their clients. A lot of really cool stuff we'll talk about in this call. But I've been an entrepreneur for my whole life. I sold sour gumballs in 4th grade. That's when it all kicked off. It all started. I had a deal. It was 10 cents a sour gumball or 3 for a quarter. So you get 50% off your 3rd gumball. It was a good deal.
Nice.
I made $40, and that's where it all started. I actually started CHIIRPy because we were having a lot of success in my previous business, piecing together a lot of different automations and making this work. And so I decided to build something where this entire sales process or this entire communication process could be housed in one place. And that's how we got the idea for CHIIRPy. And we just started programming away. And within about a year, we had a product. And here we are today. Now, the deepest integrations with likely the CRM you're using and some really cool stuff to talk about. So
awesome. Well, I also, I think I was 5th grade. We got in trouble with the principal because we started our own full-blown business. We had banks and everything. There was individuals that were running their own banks, holding people's money. I mean, it was a whole thing.
The government always steps in at some point and tries to ruin it.
Oh yeah, I know. We were doing great. We were making cool little crafts and stuff and selling them to each other. All of our lunch money was going to it, but I definitely feel that on a lot of levels. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us. For new listeners or those who are regulars to the show, my name is Taylor Maroney. I co-own a power washing company in South Florida with my husband. And my background is in marketing. So I'm super excited to talk to Ryan today about just this process of the sales and how communication is so important during that. So I am super excited to have you on with us today, Ryan, and welcome back to Fight Club, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. And my name is Megan Likes. I'm the founder of Bookkeeping Academy Online. My passion is educating and empowering small business owners to know their numbers so that they can live more financially rewarding lives. I'm also the founder, owner, but I always stumble on this one, of Likes Accounting Company. I'm the chief number cruncher, I guess, is that title there. We're a full service accounting firm where you can outsource those nasty accounting and bookkeeping tasks to me and my team. We can help you interpret the data, translate those numbers, and make it money in your pocket. I own a window cleaning, gutter cleaning company with my husband, Jeff, in Northern California. And I don't know. There's probably a couple other things. I'm in the middle of starting a new business this week, guys. So my head is not in this. There's all sorts of fun things happening. More details coming soon. But I'm really happy to be back on Fight Club. And Ryan, your reputation precedes you. I'm so excited to finally meet you. You've been hyped as a super cool, super smart guy. So I'm so excited to get to know you.
Super cool. I guess super cool. I get nerd or super cool. It's either one of the two.
Well, from a fellow nerd, I call that cool. So.
And also, may I say to you, Thanksgiving week, excellent time to start a new business. Perfect timing on that.
Perfect timing. Good job, Megan. Good job. Hey, Ryan. I'm Michelle Myers, co-owner of Pink Collars, and I might have walked up to you at Women in HVACR in the hotel lobby and just walked straight up to you and said, I know your business and I need to know who you are. Maybe that might have just happened, right?
It happened.
I'm so glad I did.
It was an awesome conversation, and I'm really glad you did. I was a little startled, jumped back.
It's a good time. It was a good time. It was in the daytime, and it was all on the up.
Love it. I didn't have my pepper spray with me.
Perfect. I am Michelle Myers. like I said, co-owner Pink Collars. And if you want to outsource or even insource your customer care, that's what we do. So phone calls and emails and texts and chat. So you and I live in the same world, and I can't wait to hear all about your company. Welcome to Fight Club.
Thank you.
Michelle, I think you're just taking lessons from Megan.
I was going to say from Megan.
Yeah.
Possibly.
But anyway, my name is Martha Woodward. I am co-founder of Quality Driven Software, which is an employee performance tracking client retention software. I owned a maid service for 13 years, and I'm coming up on my year anniversary of not owning that. And no looking back. It's good. I help people build happier workplaces. That's what I'm all about. So welcome to Fight Club. And Tay, you can get us started and hit him with all your marketing questions, because that's the area.
No hardballs. We talked.
You got it.
No hardballs. No, I promise. We keep it light and fun in the beginning. Sometimes they throw some curveballs at you later on, but no.
I can handle it.
You got it. You've got the energy for it. We're here for it. So as far as what I want to talk to you about, Ryan, when I think about things that are missing for business owners, right, in their sales process and really their customer management and how they talk and communicate with their customers, I think of exactly what you guys are doing, right? I think of how they need a system to be able, and I'm kind of stepping on Michelle's toes slightly, so I love you, but I'm sorry. But they do need this system to be able to really launch that communication and keep it consistent. Because every time they go to a convention, they're like, yes, I need to make sure I'm doing my follow-ups, and I need to make sure I'm doing my text messages, and I need to send my emails. And then they go home and they're like, I do it for a week and that's about it. Yep. So as far as consistent communication, what have you seen is the growth for a business when they do consistently communicate with their client base through that sales process?
So, consistency in communication and then creating the system behind it, going back to Michelle, is one of the keys to unlocking scalability in your business, right? Because all of the we think of scalability and that's like this term that's like, okay, how is this scalable? Is this business scalable?
Right.
And there's many things that are involved in scalability, but what we're always trying to do is create efficiency in your business. And one of the tasks that is extremely inefficient is human communication, because it requires one-to-one. And so if you're attempting to scale your business, but you're not scaling your communication, it's going to be very difficult, because you're going to find yourself having to communicate much more than you have time in the day for, to be able to keep up with that demand. So we talk about, intertwining or kind of building this, bridging this gap between automation and actual human interaction. People don't want to talk to a bot. That's the last thing people want to do.
Right.
But humans don't have the ability to have multiple conversations with, at the same time. So we bridge that gap between automation and human interaction to create that efficiency. And by doing that, that unlocks scalability. And so we're not eliminating the human being from the conversation. We're turning the human being into a superhuman that can do more with the time that they have. And so the numbers are, across the board big, because you just go, look, I can hire a human being to do this work. And then when I get big, I got to hire another human being, and then I got to hire another one. Or I can take this one human being and turn that person into a superhero that can do a whole bunch of stuff. And then I'll hire another person, but I'll be way more efficient than if I'm just doing one-to-one. So.
Absolutely. Oh, this is exciting. Okay. So I love that we're talking about not eliminating the human fully, right? We don't want that bot. We don't want that inauthentic communication that you sometimes get from larger corporations when you do deal with bots of that sort.
Yep.
So I kind of want to talk about the conversation itself. So when you develop these conversations, how do you really keep that human kind of interaction there without having that bot feel? Because that's probably a question a lot of people have, and want to make sure. I joke because I'm totally different from my husband. I am raised in the South. He's from New Jersey. We have totally different sales styles, totally different conversation styles. And when clients talk to me, they know they're talking to me, but when they want to deal with Damien, they know exactly what they're going to get from him. So if I were to be coming in as a CHIIRP client and I wanted to make sure that Southern Charm was coming through those messages, what's kind of the process? Can you take me through that a little bit?
Sure. So, and this is just part of the customer journey, right? But let's, like, if you're listening, I'm holding up my hands, and I've got about a 2-foot gap between the two of them. That's the customer journey that we're representing, right?
Right.
And what we're talking about right now, this initial communication with leads, that's the first. And now I'm holding about a 1 inch between my fingers here. That's the beginning of the customer journey, which is what we're talking about right here, right? So this is this one of many things that CHIIRP can help you do. But let's talk about that point where if we're trying to turn a lead into a customer, so we're at that stage of the customer journey. Let's use an example of a Facebook lead that maybe you're running an ad on Facebook and the lead comes in. We're going to trigger a conversation starting text message. So that text message, when the lead fills out their information, we're immediately going to send a text message to that lead to start the conversation with the way that you would typically, however you want to word it for you. This is all customizable to how you want it to be. But that first text would go out and that would start the conversation. Now, let's say you do 100 leads a day, just as an example, just for easy numbers, 100 leads a day. And if you did not have this automation in place, you would have to send out 100 text messages yourself to start that conversation, right?
That's a lot.
But, right. So now with 100 leads going out, 100 leads coming in, 100 text messages automatically going out. Now, as the customers respond to those text messages, you can now take over the conversation, but you're now only communicating with the ones that are engaged and actively responding to you. So you've eliminated that first part of having to drop everything and send out a text message the moment that a lead comes in. Okay. So that alone eliminates, 50 to 60% of the work by not having to send out that first text message. And then once they do respond, now you're actively engaged with a hot lead at that point. For those that don't respond, automation is going to continue to follow up with that lead until they do respond. And then when they do respond, that's when you take over and continue your wonderful Southern charm and close the deal, right? So it's not eliminating you from the process. It's allowing you to be way more efficient. So you can have 100 conversations going that started. And then as people are responding, you're then continuing and closing the deals. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm in love with it, to say the least, because you get this all the time when you talk to admins and even business owners. They're getting flooded sometimes during their busy seasons with such a high inundation of leads that having that system to be able to, one, automate that first part, but still have it with a human touch, right? You're still putting your personalized message as a company as that first touch. But that filtration between what is a lead that is hot right this minute that we need to jump on and what just needs to be nurtured a little bit longer through that same automation process is huge. I mean, that means filling the schedule for the week if you have gaps. That means being able to be booked out maybe 2 weeks if you already had that week built. And the possibilities are endless at that point because you're focusing on who needs you immediately at this time and who is ready to book. And that's, I'm sure Megan's going to cover a lot of the financial side of things with you and how this really translates to money. But from a sales and marketing perspective, we're doing, 3 things right now, just to kind of wrap up my area. We're, one, putting still a human touch to this communication. We're automating it to take less off your admin's plate and less off whoever is answering the phones, Facebook messages, emails, which most likely is your admin, making them more efficient. And then we're able to really jump on these hot leads to then start to close deals and close sales. So this is incredible. And we're only talking about just a tiny portion, like you said, a little slice of the pie of what CHIIRP can really do for a company. But already we're seeing massive improvements for business owners to be able to really save on time and be able to be more efficient. So I appreciate everything you said today in our marketing segment here, Ryan. And I think Megan's taking extra notes to pick your brain on some finances. So I'm going to go ahead and pass you over to Megan.
It's so cute. I'm at my mom's house and look at this adorable little notepad I found in the drawer. Sorry. If you're listening, it's like the cutest thing of little woodland creatures. My post-it notes in my accounting office are boring. So
it's exactly what we can expect on a podcast called Fight Club.
That's right. I'm with my mom and I'm talking about fuzzy woodland creatures and all sorts of feelings. Are you ready, Ryan? We're going to talk about all the feelings. I'm just kidding.
I'm ready. Let's go.
No, I'm a CPA. I have no feelings. I just talk about numbers and data. So speaking of which, I have 3 options for us to talk about today. I am an absolute automations nerd. I have been systematizing and leveraging the human component of an automatic follow-up system for 4 or 5 years. We can nerd out about that, but you just nerded out about it with Tay. So let's talk about the economics of that. So here's your choice. You can only choose one. Okay. We can talk about less payroll. So how when we leverage automations for follow-up in a home service company, we can do that with probably 1 salaried person, up to 1.5 million. I'm hoping to push that all the way to 2 million personally, but you don't need a lot of people in your office because you can leverage automation. So we can talk about that. Or we can talk about higher conversion rates. So by having a follow-up sequence, any follow-up sequence, you will naturally have higher conversion rates, which translates to more money in your pocket for the leads you're already paying for. Or we could talk about larger tickets, because by automating and customizing and personalizing this sort of communication style, you're going to build rapport and empathy with your clients, which is going to make them want to spend more money with you. So we can talk about the economics of that. So which of those, and you can't say all 3. I feel like often guests are like, we're going to do all 3. And I'm like, no, you got to choose one. We only get 6 minutes.
All right. Well, for those listening, all 3 are I can do magical things in all 3 of those, but so we got to choose one though. So why don't we go with conversion rates?
Okay, I love it. Okay. And I'm gonna give you a little tee up or a little cheat and I'm gonna say that he's absolutely right. You should be doing all 3, and you should be leveraging the power of technology and software. And it sounds like in CHIIRP to add more money to your business. I was with a company yesterday and we were talking about conversion rates, and so I'm glad you chose that one, because it's like they were really low. And I was thinking, but is that acceptable? And they were like, well, I mean, it's just what it is. And I'm like, but you know how much money you left on the table? Like if you could increase that conversion rate by even 5-10%, and I did the math for them and like their jaws dropped. And I was like, yeah, we're talking significant money. So let's start by defining conversion rate for our listeners, Ryan. What does a conversion rate mean? And why should we care?
So a conversion rate can mean many different things along the customer journey, where we're converting a lead into an appointment. We're turning an appointment into an estimate into an actual job. And then a conversion can also mean turning a customer into somebody who buys from you again. So there's different conversion rates to be measured along the entire journey. And each of those steps, by focusing in on those steps, you can see where you're missing the mark. And you don't want to have what we call too many KPIs where you've got like 50 things you're trying to track. But if you can get it down to 3 to 5 different levels along the way, you can then look at those. And one of the biggest things when I started doing this in my business 7 or 8 years ago, we started tracking numbers of conversion rates from lead to appointment to sale kind of thing. You can go, oh, cool. I know where I'm having a problem, because, okay, maybe my lead to appointment rate is really high, but my conversion rate from appointment to estimate's really low. So I need to focus on that number and not this one. And by doing that, you can really figure out where the hole is in your business and determine where you need to apply pressure.
I'm gonna be a jerk and contradict you slightly, or just like to make this a simple argument, because I know we're talking to a lot of different industries.
Oh yeah, go.
Let's say estimate to invoice. Let's stick there for a minute. Yeah. So you've given a customer an estimate. They've asked for how much is it going to cost, and that might have happened over the phone. That might have meant you sent a sales guy out and you left him a good, better, best package. That might have been, something that I don't know how else you'd give an estimate. I've got
the jobs, right? It's huge, right? It's a huge thing that people are missing. It's pretty amazing to me. Like, people can be running mega multi-million-dollar companies and still have a huge gap there. And the problem is because they feel good because they're closing deals and they're making money. And so they don't really, it's hard to try to fix things that seem to be working really well. But
exactly. So let's leave our listeners in that feeling, because I'm sure nobody has ever done this that's listening to this show.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done this where they left an estimate for Mrs. Jones and then they said, okay, call us if you want to schedule. Thank you. Bye. And they ran away because they were afraid, right? Like when we started owner operator, we were not sophisticated salespeople. We were terrified of sales. We were just really good window cleaners, or we did really good, on our lawn care routes or something. So when you drop that estimate, there's some magic that needs to happen to actually convert that customer into a paying customer, which means money in your bank account. So we're talking about that automation part right now. And Ryan gave you a lot of clues of other parts in the customer journey that you could also automate or improve. But let's stick in this. We want this estimate that we dropped at Mrs. Jones's house to convert into cash in our bank account. Talk through some of your favorite strategies for following up with that customer.
So if I don't hear from that customer that day, I'm going to drop a text message. Ideally, if I sent the invoice in the morning, I'm probably going to follow up in the afternoon. And then I'm going to drop a voicemail the next day. And then I'm going to consistently follow up for 14 days. And then drop them into a slow nurture that may go 30, even up to 6 months out, depending on the type of job that I'm talking about. And that's the beauty of CHIIRP. Go ahead.
Pause. So sorry, I'm going to keep pausing you every time. Like, that's really good knowledge. So basically he said, Mrs. Jones, here's my price, good, better, best. Would you like to book? And she said, let me talk to my husband. And so he left her house and then he sent her a text. Hey, Mrs. Jones, just following up on the estimate. Do you have any questions for me? Then the next day he sent a voicemail bomb, and a voicemail bomb is like geniusness because it's his voice or her voice. It's your salesperson's voice saying, hi, I'm just checking in on the estimate I left with you yesterday. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you. And, you could drop in an offer or something. And it's generic. It's the same voicemail that you're going to leave to every customer the day after an estimate. And it's an automated process, but it's the salesperson's voice. I think there are a lot of people listening who are like, what's a voicemail bomb? Like, it's secret sauce. So the voicemail bomb happens. And then Mrs. Jones has still not written back. She hasn't texted back. She hasn't emailed back. She's not accepted your offer. So he's talking about a 14-day sequence that goes out, and it will stop whenever Mrs. Jones gives you money. Whenever Mrs. Jones says, hey, take my money, I'm ready to schedule, or, well, we can discuss this in a second, or when Mrs. Jones says, I'm not interested, because I do have a follow-up sequence for when Mrs. Jones says, I'm not interested too. Right. But when she says, until she says, take my money, he's continuing to send out this sequence. And this is a sequence that he wrote once, or I think maybe our mutual friend Liam might have written it, because I have Liam's custom.
Shout out Liam.
Yeah, I've got a link here because I think Liam is like genius. Shiny Sherpa. Okay, so now keep going. So Mrs. Jones, we're not harassed. Are we harassing her?
No, that's what people think. The fortune is in the follow-up. You heard a million times. When somebody requests information, we live in a capitalistic society. When people, we have to run businesses, and to be efficient, we need to follow up with people who have requested information. So it's not rude to consistently follow up with people to get.
And are we helping Mrs. Jones by following up?
If you really believe in your product, then you believe that she needs it and that it's a good investment for her. And so it is your responsibility, nay, your duty to follow up and to close the deal if you're really serious. Yeah.
I feel like when I'm talking to home service business owners, it's a huge disconnect for them. They're terrified of sales, right? They're just absolutely terrified of it. And they're like, well, I don't want to harass Mrs. Jones. She was so nice. Like, I just, she'll call me when she's ready. And I'm like, she already forgot your company name because you're terribly branded. She's not going to call you. And how many text messages did you not respond to yesterday? Or emails did you not respond to yesterday? If you think about and we're not even our ideal client, but if we think about how busy we are and all of the inputs coming in, we have to stay top of mind. And that's what Ryan's pitching is you're just going to stay present because Mrs. Jones called you for help. She needed that service. She still needs that service. And she just needs a little bit of pushing to actually get scheduled.
And there are personality types that just will not buy unless they're followed up with. So they won't even, so they're not, you're missing those completely if you're not following up with them, because they will not buy unless they feel like they've been followed up with.
I feel like Martha's the type that will she'll buy just so you stop following up with her. Like, make it stop, and she'll give you her money.
I unmuted just so I could say, I almost feel like as long as you're not abrasive about the follow-up, I almost feel like follow-up is concierge service for me, because I need to be reminded, and I need those constant, oh yeah, I got to do that. And if I don't do it right then, I'm one of those customers that actually appreciates that. Hey, Mrs. Jones, you know, did you forget? Blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, oh yeah, thank you. So.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if I reached out,
behind you, right?
If I reached out, then I'm probably interested. I'm just distracted.
Yes.
And I love this idea of, in this follow-up from estimate to invoice, something that I've done is I actually automate messages to my office manager. So I will send on day 3 or day 1 or day 5, or actually all 3 of those, I will send an email or a text to my office manager with that client's information that says, hey, Mrs. Jones needs to be followed up on. We haven't heard back from her. Can you check in with her? And then that's creating. I'm not good at Slack. That's Michelle's department. I need to learn at some point. These women are talking about how much I ignore everything. I'm just the worst. But someday I will be good at that. Okay, let's tie this, let's wrap this up and make this pretty to do some math here. So do you mind if I do some math for you?
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about how about your 100 leads? Let's talk about this. You were saying in the last example, 100 leads. So we've got 100 leads. And what do you think is a typical slippage of those?
It all depends on the lead source. So it could be any lead source. But let's just say you get 100 top of funnel leads and you convert 20 of those into conversations and 10 of those into estimates. So let's just say, just for simple numbers. So you get 10.
No, those are bad numbers. I'm a window cleaner. Let's say you convert 95 of those.
Let's do bottom of funnel leads, right?
Okay.
100 leads, 90 turn into conversations, 80 turn into here's your estimate, right? How's that?
You are a bigger data nerd than me. I feel like I've met my match. Okay, so we've got 80 estimates. Yep. All right. And now, let's say a typical bad conversion rate, because you have no automations. Yep. Oh, wait. First, I need to know what's our average ticket. Let's go to Tay.
$500.
Tay, what's your $500? That's low. Come see me if your average ticket's $500. I'd love to help you. Okay, $500. And what's a bad conversion rate? Like the one I saw yesterday was 35%. Do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say 40%. So
let's say 35%. Okay, so we've got 80 leads at 35% conversion rate at $500 each. So before meeting Ryan, that was a good day for you. That was $14,000 in sales, right? But now what happens, Ryan? What do your customers usually see once they set up a shiny CHIIRPy follow-up sequence and they set up all their...
Let's be conservative in saying with two different types of campaigns, both on the one we talked about with Tay and with yours, we increase a 10% on the speed to lead and a 10% conversion on follow-up. So total conversion increase is 20%.
So now we're at 55%, which is still not great. We got friends, Power Selling Pros. We got other friends that can help you. But guess what happens? Same day, same leads, same marketing spend, same company, same average ticket, same person on the phone. That day sales went to $22,000, guys.
$22,000.
You went from $14,000 to $22,000. $8,000. No, that's more than 8. 6 plus, 8. I'm on my first cup of coffee. $8,000 increase in your sales. Huge. Just by creating an automation. Now, and just by, I feel like Ryan probably spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in building out this technology and building out the team that can support it. And I know Liam spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in learning your customers' language and how they want to buy from you. But you can pay for this once. I love my automations because I build them and then they run for 4 years. I don't update them. I'm a very lazy home service business owner. And if you can get nerdy like Ryan and start optimizing it, he talked about a 10% increase, guys. 10% increase.
Wow.
Trying to be conservative. So, and if you're doing really bad, it could be much better than that. But as you start to get more and more efficient, those 2 and 3% increases become really, really valuable, right?
I like to see in the window cleaning, exterior cleaning service, I feel like there's no reason why you can't get up to 75% being very, very profitably priced. So let's say you get it up to a 75% conversion between estimates to invoices. That's a $30,000 day, guys.
Yep.
$30,000 day.
Wow.
I'm going to just like mic drop there, Ryan, and pass you to Michelle. And I'm going to drop the Shiny Sherpa link. And then if you've got a link, I will drop that into. And I'm going to say thanks for fighting the good fight, because I don't want to buy from robots, but I'm really happy to buy from a business owner who has spent some time to create a sequence that is their language and their identity. And they've leveraged their people, their humans. To help remind me that I need to reply to my text messages and my emails, and I do really need my or my roof cleaned or whatever it is.
Pleasure speaking with you, Megan. Thank you.
Okay, Ryan, you and me. Okay, I want to go too totally nerdy, and I want to go totally deeper on how the sequences can be bifurcated by not just something that the customer does, right? Like buy or purchase or schedule, but by what they don't do, which is what I think CHIIRP is so powerful with. When you and I were on the phone recently, we talked about you can basically filter down the clients that have not responded or the clients that have not actioned anything, and you can get super granular. Can you talk this through how that looks for maybe a window cleaning company, right? Because you're familiar with those guys, and how you can really identify if you have gaps in your schedule, who you want to push a message out to with CHIIRP. Because I think that that's where the power is that ability to really filter down more than just one action level. Does that make sense?
Yes. So So there are a lot of systems out there, a lot of follow-up things, a lot of automation things. Where we really differentiate and where CHIIRP really, has focused a lot of its energy is our deep integrations into your CRM. So whether you're using Service Titan, House Call Pro, Sarah, Jobber, Service Monster, and then there's other ways we can make these things I'm going to talk about happen if we're not. But the whole idea here was I wanted to give freedom to the customer to be able to choose when specific things happen for very specific things. So the exact right text message direct to the exact right person at the exact right time, right? And so with these filters in place, we can say, all right, when the estimate is sent, okay, so let's go to example of not taking it this deep. I can say when an estimate is sent, do this campaign, right?
Yeah.
But you may have very different types of customers, different types of offers in your business, different types of tags and job types and business units and all these different things that may require more of a different cadence or a different follow-up sequence. And let's just keep it simple. Let's say you're a carpet cleaner and a window cleaner. Let's just keep it really simple. Sure. And you say, okay, on carpet estimates, I want this follow-up to happen. But on window cleaning estimates, I want this follow-up to happen. And this is a very simplified version of this. There's much more to it, but this is just to kind of push the point. Our language is going to be different if we're following, like, I want to say, hey, do you want to still get your windows cleaned? But on carpet, I want to say, hey, do you still want to get your carpet cleaned? Just that simple change in language is going to show that it's a more personalized follow-up to that person. By having that filter within your CRM already in place, CHIIRP can recognize, oh, okay, this is an estimate that is for window cleaning, for residential, for this technician, for this invoice amount, and for this tag. So CHIIRP's supposed to do this campaign. Oh, this estimate is for carpet cleaning, and it's for an invoice that is quite large. So let's have a very specific cadence for high ticket sales that starts. And so we're now building many different follow-ups for different types of jobs. And that's a huge thing, because it's now, again, being personal. It's not a blanket generic follow-up. Hey, yesterday we gave you an estimate for company name. We would like to follow up. It can be very personal. It's like, hey, Michelle, thank you for letting me come into your home yesterday and check out your carpet. just wanted to let you know that we're offering a 10% discount for you, but whatever you want to do, but it's very specific to that offer that you're talking about. So you with that, what those systems that you're talking about, with those filters, we can laser target. We'll call it deep targeting integrations with your CRM. That answer your question?
It does. I love it. I love it. And for me, I think texting is a pain point for my company, because sometimes texts will go out and we're not quite sure when they're going to come back, right? What happens there? And I love the fact that you can really define exactly when things are happening and what those responses will be, so that you can queue up your admin or your salesperson or whatever, so that those are super captured, right, by the human component, which is what I'm so excited about. Tell me how you integrate with voice bombs or voicemail bombs or ringless voicemail. A lot of people may not know that, because that plays a superhuman trick. Yeah.
Please. Interrupt before you go to voicemail bombs, because I want to talk about text messages. There's two things that you said that were like gold. One is, don't send a text automatically on a Sunday when your office is closed. You don't right back, right? I love that.
Not
and
good.
two, like throw in a couple like typos, throw in a couple of uncapitalized things, like really you can gamify an automated thing to make it feel like a personal thing. But Michelle, you're so right. Like dialing in, that was such a struggle for us. We were like, we had all this automation, but then there was nobody to receive it when they replied. And then it killed all the magic. So that was a really good point. Sorry. Now go to voicemail bombs, because I love it.
Sorry. Go.
Sorry, just to speak to that real quick, Megan, you said something really important. A lot of people ask me, they say, I want to craft like the perfect text message. We'll say, you've been texting for years. Just pick up your phone. What would you say? You don't want to sound like, what would you say? And you don't want it to be perfect. It doesn't need to be a copywritten perfect. I mean, you want the wording to be nice and the right message, but you want it to sound like you're texting. So yes, very good point.
Yeah.
And if you don't use emojis in your real life, don't use emojis in your business life.
Hey,
Martha's going to come.
True.
Zip it. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay,
voicemail bombs, because not a lot of our listeners may know those, or ringless voicemail. I think this is also a superhuman trick that a lot of businesses should be utilizing, because it's really easy to do.
Yes. So. Yeah, and there's a lot of voicemail systems out there. The difference here is that we can trigger the right voicemail at the right time to the right customer, right? So a voicemail bomb is, or a ringless voicemail we call them, is when we send a pre-recorded message right to the customer's voicemail inbox. Looks like they missed a call and they have a voicemail to listen to. This, I mean, it turns you into a superhuman. You're going to get the voicemail anyway. Why not just send a recording and then have them call back? Then it's going to be the normal way anyway. So again, it's a matter of recording the voice in the system. It's there stored, and then now that can be sent out at any point during the customer journey or in any sequence to follow up. And we talk about multi-channel follow-up. You guys have heard the term multimedia. The whole point of multimedia is that if you hear a message from multiple different sources, it drives it deeper in your brain. So if you see an email, but you got a text message earlier that day, and then an email comes through, you go, oh yeah, I remember I got a text message, and then now it connects the two dots. And then if a voicemail comes through the next day, it's like it's connecting all these dots and driving it down into the point of your brain. So we're getting super nerdy, but this is where you get into it's called the reticular activator, if you've heard that term. That's the point in your brain where it hits to where you'll respond and go, oh yeah, cool, I need to do something on this. It's the same thing as like when you're trying to buy a car, and then you go, I want this car. I've never seen it before. And the next thing you know, you see 50 of them on the road.
Yeah.
It's reached to the reticular activator. Now you're noticing it. By sending these multi-touch, multimedia points of contact, we're driving our message deeper into their brain. So.
And I'm going to interject real quick, because we do this with marketing, right? Like we want this with marketing all the time, where you have your 7 to 9 touches for this client. So why aren't we doing it in our follow-up process? Like we're already doing it in another area of our business. There's no need for us not to be doing this right now. It's so important.
Yes.
Okay. Since you interrupted, I'm interrupting too. Sorry. What is a small plug quality driven software. So Bobby Walker, if you're in the exterior world, you love Bobby Walker. He has an epic voicemail bomb that he sends the day after the cleaning. That's him as the owner saying, hey, I just, this is Bobby. I personally wanted to check in about your service yesterday. I hope that everything went great. If there's anything wrong, I'd love to hear about it. Give us a call back at the office. And then we plug in. And, we sent you a survey through quality driven software. This is how we know that we're delivering expectations, and it gets our response rate up. So you can use it in lots of different areas, including, like you said, different parts of the customer journey, including after you've received their money, but to make sure that they're happy or to get the review or whatever.
Love that. I'm obsessed. I love it. Perfect segue to hand you off to Martha. Thanks so much, Ryan. I'm so grateful for your time.
Thank you, Michelle.
So Ryan, I was cutting them off because that's what I want to talk to you about, is like how you get your culture, your voice in this automated follow-up. And I realize that Liam would be great for this. And Liam is going to be at the Quality Driven Conference in May. So that'll be awesome. But, so one of the first times I noticed somebody having a voice that displays their culture was Gusto, the payroll system. And I don't remember what they say when you get paid, but they'll send you some kind of email that's kind of like, hey,
hooray,
you just got paid, or, and that's so different than, this is just to notify you that you received your paycheck today, or whatever. I loved the voice, and I love that like automatically kind of makes you like that company, and so speak to us about how you encourage people to infuse their voice. And again, I know we're treading on Liam's, his expertise here, but what you've seen people do that's really effective.
Well, again, this comes down to, we do business with people you've heard of know, like, and trust, right? Mm-hmm. That's, everybody's heard that. Like is a huge, let's focus on like for a minute.
Okay.
Like is a really big deal, because that's really where they'll analyze something all the way up to a certain point. And if two companies are exactly the same, like is going to push that one company over the mark, right? They're going to go, oh, these two are the same, but I like this guy's logo more. I mean, it can come down to something as simple as, I like this guy's logo more. I like this guy's face more. I like this guy's, if you're like me, just hide the face and then do a better logo. But there's a number of different ways. And this goes back to my, my stand-up comedy days back in my 20s, that, I did a show with Pauly Shore. That's how long this has been. So if you guys know who Pauly Shore is, I asked him. I said, "Hey, I'm a young comedian. I'm trying to learn some stuff." I probably shouldn't have asked him for advice. I guess you can ask him on what not to do. But something that he said really stuck with me. He said, "Look, nobody cares about your opinion on airplane food until they care about you." And so if you start off with airplane jokes or food on an airplane before they even know who you are, you're not going to get anywhere. It's just going to be a generic, commoditized joke. But if they like you and love you, they want to know your opinion about airplane food at that point. And so the only thing we have as human beings that's different than everybody else is ourselves. And so in our personalities, and if we can inject that into our business without trying to fake any of this stuff, people are going to see that, they're going to like you, and then they're going to care about your business. Then they're going to care about doing business with you. And so I harp on it a lot, which is, hey, you only have one thing going for you. It's your unique personality. Why try to change that? Take that, latch onto it, write text messages, write things that are going to convey you, and really let that shine through. And that's when somebody's going to like you in the know, like, and trust part of this equation. That makes sense.
Yes, yes. And I was thinking about, I've said this before several times on this show, but I used to be so good at sending monthly newsletters, and this was, I'm going to date myself. This was really before the days of automated anything. And I really feel like one thing that made those convert is because I always did kind of a behind the scenes section and talked about like what we were doing with our culture, blah, 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 blah. I had a notes from the owner section, and that had really like, hey, my daughter's graduating this week, you know, blah, 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 blah. But there's more power in that than we know. And I really feel like letting, however you do it in this automated world, letting people see your culture, see who you are, and that hopefully you're likable. It does turn into conversions because it separates you from the robots.
Yeah, think of sending pictures of your technician. Hey, here's your technician, John. He's and don't make it be like some professional like headshot. Have it be him at the office sitting at the desk saying hi, or whatever it is to make it look like it's just, hey, I just snapped this picture of this. Selfie videos are very powerful. I've had millions of dollars in conversions from selfie videos. People think, oh, I've got to get this overproduced nice video, when really they could hold the camera out and say, hey, guess what, guys? Ryan here. I'm doing a special. I'd really appreciate it if you'd support my local business. Let's schedule you and I'll give you 25% or whatever it is. Those are better converting than some overly produced commercial for your business. And so by injecting that personality in, and these automation touch points can be used to send those out. We can send, a link to a video. We can send a picture. Going back to what Megan said, the owner sending a voicemail after the job is complete. Imagine if you wanted to do that without automation. The owner's going to have to pick up the phone and call every single job that came through. So you're able to, with automation, again, we're not trying to eliminate the human factor here. We're trying to inject it into every part of these touch points. So very good.
Yeah. We have a good friend that automates conversions for applicants, and everything is automated.
Could we introduce Ryan and Dom? And I have a project for you. Like, I feel like that would be a really good, we could have a whole separate episode with them about that. Yeah, like the same nurture sequences we need to be bringing into our recruiting journeys. And I feel like using applicant tracking systems as triggers. Sorry, Martha, I hijacked. I'm going to stop, but we'll come back to it.
Yeah. And so I was thinking of Hire Who as well, and how you go through this whole, the applicant goes through this whole process back and forth with the company, so they think, and the owner manager doesn't get involved until that's all been filtered down. So, but then a real person steps in and is like, all right.
But the thing we learned a couple of years ago, I don't know, we had a career counselor on the call and we were talking about no-show rates to interviews. And she was like, well, why would they show up? It's a stranger. And we realized that most of the recruiting process is too automated. Like, we haven't brought in the human components. So I've been working with Dom about bringing voicemail bombs into my recruiting process to be like, hey, I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. I'm going to be in the back of the cafe, in a blue shirt. Like, how do we make it so that it feels like they're meeting a friend? And I think that there's huge opportunities to bringing in that human component to something that's very automated, because raise your hand if you're listening to this and you've been stood up for an interview this week. Like, the no-show rates are insane.
Yep. I love that. So, well, as always, we could go on and on and on, but I am going to try to stay on time and pass it back to Tay. And
I have one more interruption about, similar to Michelle said about the text messages. This was one of my oopses about the voicemail bombs. Don't send out 8,000 voicemail bombs at the same time. Like if you need to fill your calendar, don't send it to the whole list. You've got to think about the human component. Somebody has to respond to that voicemail bomb when they call back. And you can get really good. I have really good data about the effectiveness of a voicemail bomb. But like Michelle said, don't send it out and then bombard your sales team or your office people or your call center. So be thoughtful about what happens after the automation goes out. Like somebody has to respond.
You learn, Megan, you learn your numbers, right? You say, okay, let's start with 50 and see what our conversion rate is. And then you do the math and go, okay, I can handle sending out 100 text messages a day or whatever it is. And you find out where that breaking point is. Yes, we've had people get in and send out a message to 3,000 people and they're going, I've had 2,000 responses. And you're like, well,
we're like, that's great. But also your admin, you need to buy them lunch and they hate your guts and you should not be allowed to do that anymore.
I have a funny story about that. I have a Subaru. Some warning lights came on and it was on a Sunday when they came on. I got an email, multiple text messages, and I was bombarded with, hey, you need to get your car in. And then I go to actually try to get my car in. They cannot get me in for a month. And so I texted my salesperson and was like, basically, what the hell? Why do you do this? Why do you like bombard me and then you can't get me in? So,
I feel the same way about the dentist. Ryan, there's so many industries you could go fix the automations for. I like the dentist. I hate it. Their automations suck. Like no human wrote those. Jasper wrote those. Anyway.
All right, Tay, cut us off.
All right, so we're at the point in the show here, Ryan, where we're going to be giving out some homework. So feel free to add some homework at the end. We'll go around first so you can get the feel for it. Okay. For our listeners, we are about to give you 4 to 5 pieces of homework. So please, please, please only choose one piece. We want you to be able to be effective and get this homework done in the next week. That is our accountability piece. That's really what makes our podcast different than others. So please only choose one. And we do also have our group on Facebook. If you do need help or assistance with this homework, you can always feel free to hop in that group and speak to one of us in regards to the homework. So I'm going to keep it pretty simple. We did talk a lot about the effectiveness of a follow-up and why that's important. And at the end of the day, it's right now, do you have one or do you not? I mean, do you have a way you're communicating with your clients after a lead comes in, after an estimate comes out or it gets sent out, 4 or 5 days after that estimate is sent? Do you have something in place? And if that answer is no, then what I want you to do is not necessarily go crazy about it, but what would you like that to look like, right? Sit down with a pen and paper and think about what you want for your company as a follow-up. Do you want to send a text message after the estimate is sent out, on day 2? Do you want to send a voicemail bomb? Do you want to send an email? Start to craft that customer journey and that experience for them. And then you get to kind of feel both sides of it, right? You get to see what it's going to look like on your end for the business. And you also get to see what that's going to look like for the customer as well. So that's going to be your marketing homework is, do you have a follow-up process right now in place? If not, please sit down and start to craft that. If you do, sit down and maybe start to optimize that. Take a look at how it's working and how that is really being effective for the business.
Ooh, I love your homework. I'm going to do it this week. I'm also going to try and talk you into starting a business of doing a customer journey workshop. I want to do a customer journey workshop with you. It's been on my list for a while. Because you're just talking about the beginning part, but what should that customer experience be from the time they reach out to you to the time that you come back for that second service? I need to just spend 2 hours with Tay's brain and map that out. But I'm going to do your homework for the first part, and then I'll get my gold star. For finance homework, we're also keeping it simple. I want you to calculate your current conversion rate for estimates to invoices. This is a key figure in your company. If you're using Service Titan, you can just skip because you can tell me your conversion rate 26 different ways. But I feel like you need to choose one that's important to you, and then you need to measure it. It's a game against yourself. What can you do this week to increase that by 5%? Because I bet it's an hour project to increase your conversion rate by 5% if you're using automations like Ryan described. So homework is calculate your conversion rate. If you don't use a CRM, super simple. Pull up your calendar for last week. How many jobs were on it? How much money did you make? How many estimates did you give? That's how you calculate it. Okay, I'm going to pass to Michelle for systems homework.
Woohoo! And my systems homework is to check out Chirp. Save yourself the heartache. I'm looking at it for my own business even, so I would say check it out. I'm going to put a link in our private group on Facebook, and there's some savings for people that are Fight Club for Business listeners. So please look at that.
Sounds good. And my homework is to look at your automated communication with your clients and with your applicants, or I shouldn't say clients, with your prospective clients and with your prospective employees, and how much of your voice is in those communications, how much of your company culture is able to shine through. That's your homework. And Ryan, would you like to give them homework?
So I didn't finish high school, so you say down homework. So I'm anti-home. No, I'm just kidding. Do your homework. No, I do have one piece of homework to add to Megan's. Choose some KPIs in your business beyond just that one that you do want to start tracking. What's tracked can be improved. I think that's the term. Who's heard that? What's tracked can be improved. If you have blind spots in your business, if you have blind spots and you don't know that, if I can't come to you and say, hey, what is your conversion from lead to appointment? And you can't answer that, you should know. You should be able to answer those questions. So choose 3 KPIs that you may feel like you don't have a good hold on, and try to start figuring out how you're going to start calculating your conversion rate on those.
If you want to piggyback on the homework, then using that same calendar, you can get your top 3 KPIs. So you can figure out if you know how much money was on your calendar for last week, how many invoices on your calendar, and how many estimates on your calendar. You could know your total sales. That's actually a KPI. You could know your conversion rate. That's another KPI. And you could figure out your average ticket. So, and those 3 numbers can triple your business without any new leads overnight. Sorry to hijack that, but that was really good homework, Ryan. And if I just had to say, my favorite 3 KPIs are total sales, conversion rate, average ticket. Perfect. And Chirp can help with all of those.
Yes.
Woo-hoo. Awesome. Well, Ryan, if someone has questions post-show or wants to talk to you further about all things data and what Chirp has to offer, what's the best way for them to get into contact with you?
Text my automated system. My automated system will respond. I'm gonna be in the Bahamas, so just text me. I'm just kidding. Chirp.com. Chirp.com, you get us. You can also join our user support group. If you want to join the user support group before you're a member to learn some stuff, you're welcome to join that. You can search that on Facebook, Chirp User Support Group. Don't forget the 2 I's in Chirp. Chirp.com. Chirp.com/pink collars. If you're listening to this and you want to get a discount on Chirp, that's where you can get a discount. And then, of course, if you'd like to do a demo of our software, which is what we would highly encourage, we'll show you exactly. I mean, we touched on maybe 10% of what Chirp can do. So a demo will really show you some of the other cool stuff that it can do. That you can schedule a demo at chirp.com. And we'll jump on with you and we'll talk about your business and how you can use this to make it happen. So
awesome.
Sounds good.
And we always wrap up, Ryan, with a quote for the day. And I liked this one. It's from Bill Gates, none other than, and he says that automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency. I think that's pretty clear. I know that's happened to me before. So it does magnify. Thank you for this awesome tool and bringing this value to the marketplace. I think it's really very useful. And I'm so glad I walked up to you and talked to you just a tiny bit at WHVACR.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
All
Everybody
right.
have
Go
a super day. Go
We'll see you next
Thanks, everybody.